happened is one trader on Polymarket turned roughly $33,000 in a $400,000 profit.
Billions of dollars placed with perfect timing, and now even journalists are being threatened.
The timing of many high-stakes bets just before key geopolitical decisions.
Millions of dollars were bet on whether this would happen. Not on sports, not on stocks, on reality itself, an election outcome, a political capture, the possibility of war. Experts went on television and made predictions. Analysts published reports. Governments issued statements. But somewhere else, people weren't making predictions. They were placing bets. And when it was over, the market was often closer to the truth. The platform behind it is called Polymarket, and it raises a question that feels simple, but isn't. What if the people risking money understand reality better than the people explaining it? Because once you allow people to bet on what will happen, you're no longer just observing the future, you're putting a price on it. The idea behind prediction markets isn't new. For decades, economists have argued that markets can aggregate information better than individuals. The logic is simple. Every person knows something, a piece of information, a perspective, a signal. But on their own, those pieces are incomplete. The theory is that when you allow people to trade on those signals, the market combines them into something more accurate than any single opinion. Not perfect, but closer. Polymarket took that idea and applied it directly to real-world events. Not just financial outcomes, but political, social, and geopolitical ones. Instead of asking, "What do you think will happen?" it asks, "How much are you willing to risk if you're wrong?" That question changes behavior, because opinions are cheap, but being wrong with money attached isn't. On the platform, each outcome becomes a contract. If an event happens, the contract pays out. If it doesn't, it expires worthless. The price moves constantly, reflecting probability, not truth, but belief under pressure. The 2024 United States presidential election. During the election cycle, information moved fast. Polls updated, narratives shifted. Analysts interpreted every new data point. But markets didn't interpret, they reacted. When new information appeared, people either bought or sold. And that decision required something different than commentary. It required conviction. If you believed a candidate's chances had improved, you didn't write an article. You bought shares. If you thought the odds were too high, you sold. Over time, those trades created a moving probability, a number that reflected not what people said publicly, but what they believed privately. And sometimes, that number diverged from the narrative. Experts would lean one way, the market would lean another. And in those moments, something interesting happened. Viewers weren't just asking, "Who do I agree with?" They were asking, "Who is actually risking being wrong?" Because in a market, every opinion has a cost. Nicolás Maduro. Then there are moments that don't feel like opinion at all. Moments where the market moves with unusual confidence. In one case, large bets were placed on a specific political outcome involving Venezuela. The timing was precise, the positions were significant, and the odds shifted quickly. To an outside observer, it looked like strong belief. But strong belief raises a question. Where does that belief come from? In most markets, information is uneven. Some participants know more than others. That's not unusual. But in a prediction market tied to real-world events, the gap can feel different. Because the outcome isn't abstract, it's happening in real time. When the event occurred, the bets paid out. And on the surface, the market had done its job. It reflected probability. It rewarded accuracy. But beneath that, there's a deeper tension. Because when outcomes are tied to real-world events, prediction and knowledge can begin to overlap. Not in every case, not even most, but enough to raise the question. At what point does a prediction stop being a guess and start being something else? Iran, then the stakes rise again, because some events carry consequences far beyond the market itself. Tensions involving Iran created a new category of bets, not just political outcomes, but geopolitical ones. Would a conflict escalate? Would a specific action take place? Would a line be crossed? These weren't abstract questions. They were tied to real-world consequences. And yet, they were being traded like probabilities. Prices moved, positions shifted. Millions of dollars flowed into outcomes that, if realized, would affect people far beyond the market. And this is where the nature of prediction markets changes, because when the outcome is distant, the market feels analytical. But when the outcome carries real human cost, the market feels different. Not wrong, not inherently flawed, but heavier. Because the incentives don't just reflect belief, they reflect potential consequence, and that creates a subtle shift. The market isn't just observing reality anymore, it's interacting with it. Across these events, a pattern begins to emerge. Not about any single outcome, but about the system itself. Prediction markets are often described as tools for discovering truth. But what they actually discover is something slightly different. They discover belief under pressure. And belief, when tied to incentives, behaves in ways that aren't always intuitive. It can become sharper, faster, more responsive, but it can also become distorted. The idea behind Polymarket is simple. Let people bet, and the truth will emerge from incentives. And in many cases, that works. The market reacts faster, adjusts quicker, reflects belief more honestly than public statements. But reality is more complicated than incentives alone. Information isn't always equal. Outcomes don't exist in isolation. And not every participant is playing the same game. So the question isn't just whether markets can predict the future. It's this: what happens when the future becomes something people can trade? Because at that point, truth isn't just something we discover. It's something we price.